Right. You ever done with me?
No.
Okay. All right. So
They were done on discs that were PC compatible, and I haven't got a PC, I've got an Apple, so I never looked at them.
Right. Okay. So this is recording everything. So it'll record obviously what's on the screen. It'll record what we're saying as well. So you've got a copy. I won't do it today, but when we leave here, I'll burn it to CD, and I'll give you a CD for you to kind of play it back when you get home. And obviously, you'll have a copy of what we've got here. So start by showing obviously start to show the footage. First of all, if we just start by saying what do you think call it an issue, but what do you think is holding you back the most in the water with your swimming?
Well, a couple of people recently pointed out that I'm really slapping with my right arm.
Did you not know you did that? Can you feel it?
No.
It's quite a slap.
I know.
Yeah.
I could hear it.
Yeah.
I could hear it. They got out of the pool, turned around and looked around, and they could hear me slapping the water.
It's very interesting that you didn't realise you were doing that.
And when I can always tell when I'm open water swimming, it's like I'm waving at something.
Okay. Yeah. But that slap wouldn't necessarily. I mean, is there anything else? The slap wouldn't necessarily slow you down, just making a slap on the water. But is there anything in terms of your positioning or anything at all that you think is? It's not a loaded question.
No. I mean, when I'm conscious when if I as soon as I'm put under any pressure, my technique seems to deteriorate quite a bit. So I can bilaterally breathe, but as soon as I have to race and revert to unilateral breathing, that's probably not quite as streamlined as it could be if I was breathing bilaterally. So I'll drift off to one side.
Okay. Yeah. And when you had it recorded before, you say you didn't look at the footage, so you weren't sure of what the kind of feedback and response was that. Okay. Now, let's start by saying, obviously, you're a decent swimmer. You know, so you're 36 or 136 and a half, something else, something like that, isn't it? So you're not a slow swimmer by any stretch of the imagination. So you're still achieving to a reasonable amount of speed despite any issues we may see today.
It doesn't feel very relaxed sometimes, my swimming.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Well, let's start by playing it through. Now, the first thing I generally look at when I do these analysis sessions is the head position. Now, your head position, as you can see, is pretty reasonable actually. We look for one goggle in, one goggle out the water. This is obviously your breathing side. Good high recovery over the water, that's fine. It doesn't really matter whether it's straight or it's more like a kind of high elbow, smooth type recovery. It doesn't really matter too much. As long as it spears in and the catch and pull through is good, that's what we look for. So this will be the splash that you're talking about. We'll have a closer look at that in a minute. So let's just continue to play it through. Now, interestingly, on your non-breathing side, look at the height of your recovery in comparison to. So your fingers are about, I don't know, 6 inches off the surface of the water on the non-breathing side. And then on the breathing side, when you do take a breath, it's higher even when you don't breathe. But when you do breathe, let's just jump back a second. When you do breathe, right over. Yeah. It's not an issue we need to worry about at the moment. It's just interesting that we can already see imbalance in the stroke a little bit. Okay. Now, the first thing that strikes me, is there anything that, if you look at that, is there anything that's kind of jumps out at you? There's good things and not so good things in here. If you're not sure, then...
Well, because I've got a reasonable amount of reach on it.
Okay, yeah.
To me, it looks as though it's sticking out a bit.
It's interesting you say that, okay, yeah. That's related to what I'm looking at, yeah. To give you a clue.
Yeah.
Where you're looking.
Oh, right, I'm looking ahead.
You're looking a long way forward.
Yeah.
You're looking a long way forward. I mean, if you look at the line of your goggles, you're looking right up here. Okay. What this naturally does is causes the arching in the back here, and you're presenting all this surface area to the water here by looking forward. Now, you've actually got quite a good body position despite this. So the main thing for me here with you is if you were just to try looking, maybe not necessarily straight down, but a little bit further down, so 45 degrees or thereabouts, what that should do is straighten up your back and leave and reduce this little arch in your back here, okay? And it shouldn't cause your legs to drop. In fact, if anything, looking further down will cause the legs to actually sit a little bit higher in the water. So your bottom's touching the surface of the water, which is good, which is nice. So the next thing, that's one thing, okay? Looking further down and just kind of experimenting with your head position in the water. Just simply moving your head will make a difference to the rest of the body position in the water. Okay. Next thing, your feet. What size feet are you?
9.
Okay. They look bigger than that. You've got quite wide feet.
Yes.
They look quite. And
Flippers.
and that's when I first saw this footage, I thought they look bigger feet, and I think it's because they're quite wide, but it's particularly because they're turned down.
Right. Okay.
So were you here the other day when we did the kicking exercise?
No.
We did an exercise called dagger feet, or
Right.
a drill, I should say, or a demonstration, if you like, where you swim half the length of your toes. You focus on keeping your toes pointed, and then you do half a length, and specifically you point your toes down, and it makes a huge amount of difference. It makes a huge amount of difference. You wouldn't think that this little bit of surface area here would cause so much drag, okay? But it does. This area here causes drag in its own right, because the surface area here, but it generates this area of disturbed water, which almost kind of has a pulling motion in the back of you. I mean, about riding a bike, it's the turbulence is behind you and it can pull you back rather than the actual aerodynamics or hydrodynamics in the water from the front. So ankle flexibility is something we can definitely work on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll show you before we finish. I won't put it on here, but I'll go through it with you before we leave about some easy, simple stretches that you can do to work on that. And that's an easy win. This at the front here, looking forwards, is an easy win. It's an easy tweak of your stroke, just to experiment with looking a bit further down, and then ankle flexibility. 2 simple things which should reduce your movement through the water straight away.
Yep.
Okay. So pointing your toes. In general terms, then pointing your toes, working on refining your kick would be helpful to you. So we've done this in the squad before, but I'll put it on here just so as you've got a copy of it. The ballerina drill. Maybe it's not in this. I'll find it now. Maybe it's not in this one. Okay, I'll describe this one to you then. The ballerina drill is when you're upright in the water, so you're pointing your toes, and you practice effectively holding onto the side of the pool with one arm, and you sweep your outside leg with a long, kind of wide kick.
Yep.
And just focus on feeling the movement through the water and almost kind of flicking your toes, but pointing, making sure you point your toes. You bring the other leg in, so you're doing quite large kicks backwards and forwards, and then you reduce down the depth and the frequency, or increase the frequency of the kick, so it becomes a faster, shallower kick.
Right. Yeah.
And then at that point, you should start to feel a little bit of lift, even though you're vertical in the water. And then you should start to be able to kind of lightly let go of the wall and be able to control your position in the water. And that's a nice little drill just for you to practice fine-tuning your kick, because you'll feel when it's wrong. And you will start to lose the propulsion that you're generating. And then torpedo drills. So again, we do these regularly in the squad anyway. So pushing off from the wall. And holding, pause it there, holding a nice streamlined torpedo shape, which is always good anyway when you push off from the wall to practice being in that position. And then continuing to kick the heart, kick the feet, and focus on pointing the toes. Okay? And then swimming to the end of the length, but still continuing to focus on the toes being pointed. Yeah. So the ankle flexibility work and some torpedo work and ballerina drill should be enough just for you to kind of do a little bit of tweaking on your feet.
Okay. Yep.
It's not a massive issue for you, but it's something which could certainly help you. Now, let's continue to go back to your stroke. Now I'm going to play this in real time now and just see what you think about this. Or what I'm looking at in particular, just take it back. Slow it down. I'm looking at the front end of the stroke here in particular. And what I'm looking for here is what happens to the arm as it enters the water. Now, let's just take it back. What's actually happening here is you're spearing in, and then the elbow is dropping down. The elbow is dropping down. What's actually happening here is you're pushing, if anything, slightly forwards. So you're putting the brakes on your stroke and you're pushing down. Okay. At that point, there's no propulsion in your stroke whatsoever.
Right.
Okay. That combined with this kind of frontal area that's being presented to the water is going to cause you to decelerate and lose momentum. So we continue playing it through. We're still pushing down, and it's not maybe until that point where we start to actually get some propulsion from the stroke. Now, if I show you someone like Cassie Patton, so she spears into the water, and what we're looking for is this early engagement of the hand here and the tipping of the wrist, and you can see she immediately starts, as soon as that hand tips, Cassie is automatically starting to generate propulsion right at the front of the stroke, and that carries on all the way back through.
She's bending her hand. She's flexing her hand, or is it?
Yeah, so you have a slight at the front of the stroke, you mean? So he just engages the wrist, so just starts to tip the wrist, and you're actually doing that a little bit there, but you're pushing down a little bit more than she's earlier into pressing water backwards.
Yeah.
So imagine how much water she is now able to push backwards in her stroke. You play yours through, it's pushing down, and then we start down at the bottom end of the stroke, we're starting to push backwards. Okay?
Her elbow looks very high in the water.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. It's unlikely that without a huge amount of flexibility work you'd be able to achieve that. But what you would do is you would spear deeper.
Right.
So she is very flexible, so she's able to open up her shoulders and start her catch really at the front of the stroke, a long way forwards. What you would do is you would probably spear down to this level and then start to engage.
Right.
Otherwise, because if we look at, in fact, if we get rid of Cassie for a second, what you're doing is extending forward, and then this elbow is dropping down. And there is, I'll have a look for a different angle in a second, but there isn't much. It's all kind of coming through quite straight. We'll talk about what we can do about that in a second. Got a decent angle in the elbow there. We'll have a look from a different angle, but a decent amount. It should be sort of 100 to 120 degrees, this angle here, from looking front ways on. So same on the other side. So the big press down at the front, and then eventually it gets to here and start to press a little bit of water back at that point. So ultimately the catch at the front end of the stroke is a little bit inefficient.
Okay.
Okay. Now there's a number of things we can do about that. First of all, we'll go back to having a look over the surface of the water. A lot of this is to do with the catch-up, so the actual setup, of the catch. So what we want to be doing is spearing in and spearing a little bit deeper. On the left-hand side, your arm is coming in very flat. See how flat it comes in?
Yep.
So almost the whole arm is coming in to the water at the same time. Just take it back. When that hand comes in. Just go under the water just at the right time, or the wrong time, which is the way we look at it. So it's a little bit blurry, but we can see the whole arm is coming at the same time. I'll just show you Jono van Hazel. Olympian, pretty damn good swimmer.
Yeah, I've seen him.
You've seen him, yeah?
Yes.
So if we just show him, slow him down.
He's not Mr. Swim Smooth, is he?
He is Mr. Smooth. That's who he's modelled on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The animation and
Yeah.
So spearing in, nice high elbow, spearing in, fingertips nice and straight. And again, he's very flexible, so he's spearing a lot higher in the water. I'm asking you to spear a little bit deeper. And then you can see that elbow underneath the water there, starting to pull the water back. Same on this side, nice and high. Spearing in nice and straight. So going back to you then. We've done the broken arrow drill before.
Yep.
So the idea of the broken arrow drill is we get used to opening our chest right up, shoulder blades back, and then focusing in on the spearing in. Nice clean spear into the water. Now, depending on how flexible you are in your shoulders, that makes a difference on how deep you spear in. So if for example you were to only be able to get your arms back to this kind of depth, then you would be, imagine the water is going down the central, down my spine, this area, you would be spearing in kind of 12 or 18 inches deep. If I could get my arms back to here, standing straight, I'd be spearing in slightly shallower. So spearing in deeper. So the broken arrow would get you setting up the catch and spearing in nicely and being able to focus on that part of the stroke. And then, let's play this a little bit more so you've got some more footage of this recorded. So we're aiming to balance up the recovery of the stroke on both sides, so it's the same on both sides, nice and high. And then school number one. So we've had a nice high recovery, we've speared into the water. School number one is now there then to get you used to having your hands in that initial catch position with the elbows up high and the fingertips down. So imagine you'd have speared into that depth. Your arms would have speared into this point,
Yep.
and then sculling backwards and forwards. So you practice being in that high elbow position and not having this dropped arm, this dropped elbow here
Yep.
in the high hand. Okay? Two quite simple drills, and then following on from there. I mean, these are drills that we do all the time, but it's good for you to see exactly why we're trying to put these together and focus on them. Okay, so here we are back in our sculling position. We're now getting used to pulling back through, and there's that high elbow that we saw with Cassie and Jono pulling back through the water. Let's play this through. So those three drills combined should be sufficient for you to start really focusing in on getting your hands into the correct position in the water, and then engage in that early catch and pull through.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the only other thing for me that would really benefit you, if I just take this out and play this again. There's a pause at the front of the stroke. So spear into the water, and then there's this time period here where there's nothing happening. I'll just take it back to where it starts. So I'm looking at this hand here. So we've always said there's no propulsion being generated at this stage. There's nothing pushing apart from this hand just kind of finishing off the stroke. But at the front end of the stroke, there's nothing happening. So if you think about how much time is here before we actually start to move backwards. Now, if I just time that, there's the time here, 24.68. And then it starts to engage. So you've got there's 25.14, so say half a second where there's nothing happening.
Yep.
You're more or less static at the front of the stroke. And it's similar on the other side, but not quite the same. Let's see if we can get the other side. There. So pause, and then we start to pull back. Okay, so we want to remove that dead spot, so there's always motion at the front of the stroke. And again, just so as we can see it, let's see if we can see it on Cassie's continuous stroke here. She's actually got a little bit of glide at the front of her stroke as well. I'll show you who would probably be a good one for this. I'll show you another extreme. And this is also a good way of showing that having a neat and tidy stroke isn't the be-all and end-all. Have you seen Harry Wiltshire's swimmer?
I think I have seen this actually, yes, yeah. Very splashy, isn't it?
Splashy, but he's damn quick.
Yes. He's really throwing his arm over, isn't he?
Yeah. And what I'm trying to emphasise here is there's no pause in that stroke.
No.
It doesn't have to be super tidy above the water, and you slap your hand. Slapping your hand doesn't matter. It's more what happens once the hand gets in the water, underneath the water. So we drop down. Let's wait for it to turn around. See if you can see a pause in his stroke. Yeah, that's what I want you to do. Continuous spear in straight into the catch. That's why he's bloody quick.
Yes. I won't be able to do that quick, will I?
So what would happen with you, and what I'm thinking about doing is things are swimming with bands on. Swimming with agility paddles actually I've got there because...
which ones are those?
The little round ones, the little yellow round ones. So without the straps on.
Have I got those?
Yes, I think you
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
And what
So
are
they-
bands? I don't know what bands are.
Bands. So first of all, the agility paddles, they're designed so that when you spear into the water, if they're not in the right, if your hand is in the right position, then you should start to feel some instability in the paddle.
Right, okay.
And when you start to catch and pull through, you'll be able to feel the pressure on the paddle. So it should help you sense when your hand's in the right kind of position. Swimming with bands on,
What are the other ones for then? The
they're more
pointy
for
ones?
alignment.
Right, okay.
So spearing in, because they've got a keel
Yep.
on, you should feel if you're not spearing in straight.
Right.
And then alignment, kicking on your side and the javelin drill.
Yep.
So kicking on your side with the pointy paddle will help you sense whether or not your hand is in the right
Yep.
position, your arm is in the right position. Now, is band's going to be in here? Band's probably going to be in secondary. Here we go. You'll love this. All right, let's put it in there.
All right, so you got your legs tied together.
You got your legs tied together, literally with bands. Okay, so the idea of this is that if you've got any dead spots in your strokes, you've got a pull buoy in there, so it's not quite as bad. Spearing in, that's the kind of depth I want you to spear into. Engaging the stroke at the front with the fingertips. Doggy paddle drill, practicing pulling back. Look, that's going to help you practice your catch and pull through. But at real speed, continuous. Yeah.
Yep.
And what that will naturally do is increase your stroke rate
Right, okay.
because you're shortening your stroke.
Yes.
You're doing a little glide, little glide, little glide, little
Yeah.
pause, little pause at the front of the stroke. It's gonna reduce your stroke rate right the way down. Okay. So bands work is going to be good for you. Okay. Finally, just to finish off then, parachute. Did you see when I put a parachute
Yes,
in?
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure I've got
I didn't see what happened to that. I saw what they were doing, but I didn't see what happened to that.
Yeah. I probably haven't got a parachute in here. But so the parachute will obviously sit behind you, and what it will do is you'll feel you want to have a constant pressure on the band, on the cord. So if you have a dead spot in your stroke, you'll feel it go loose, tight, loose, tight, loose, tight, and you'll be able to adjust your stroke until you can feel that constant tension.
Right.
Simple as that, really. Simple as that. So, just to recap, you are looking forward, so we can tinker with our head position. All right, a bit of ankle flexibility. So stretching the doing some ankle stretches and some ballerina drill.
Yep.
Which I didn't get to show you, but I think I'll go through it with you in the squad anyway. And torpedo, so pushing off from the wall and focusing on keeping your toes pointed. Some broken arrow drill to practice spearing in.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Into the catch, which is the skull. Into the doggy paddle to practice pulling back through. And then working on removing that dead spot with the bands. Those things combined, it sounds like quite a lot, but they're all very closely linked. Those things combined are going to make a huge amount of difference to your stroke. But it's just practicing them and getting someone, i.e. me potentially, to watch you do it and continually give you feedback on it. You're a good swimmer already. You're pretty quick. You've got a nice body position in the water, so it's only going to make a positive difference to you. So that's, I think, it's pretty much all we need to cover.
Yep.
Is there anything else? Have you got any questions or anything about any of the stuff that we've looked at?
No, I don't think so.
Well, if anything
The
pops
unilateral
up,
the breathing on one side doesn't matter.
ideally, in the perfect world, we'd get you to breathe on both sides, but that's not your biggest. I mean, you could argue that it would help balance up the stroke. Potentially, on the if we can balance up and get you uniformly recovering on both sides, it would help. But I think you're a fast swimmer already, and it's going to take a lot of work to get you to happily bilaterally breathe. We've got more gains. We're looking for the shortest, fastest gains possible. Yeah. And these are the ones that are going to help you. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you were a brand new swimmer, I'd kind of teach you from the scratch, but not bilateral. But I don't think there's any need to. Have you seen this? You've seen the swim types.
Yeah, I've got the book.
Okay.
I need to
And
go back and have a look at it.
What do you think you are?
What am I? Well, I thought it was a bit of a glider, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I kind of scratched my head with you a little bit, I must say. You've got a hint of overglide in your
Can't remember
stroke.
what they are. It's the glider.
So yeah, there's. In fact, I'll show you. Look, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn this to disc for you, and I'll give you one of the swim type guides, and I'll give you two. I'm going to give you the overglider because you've got a hint of overglide in there at the front of your stroke. And I actually think you're going to eventually turn into a swinger.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So more like Harry Wiltshire. So a faster, punchier stroke. If we can get that dead spot removed. So overglider, swinger. So I'll pop those two onto the disc for you. And these two, they're basically guides. If you've got the book, you will see all this already. You'll have seen most of it.
Yeah. I haven't looked at it for a long time,
Yeah,
so I've
okay.
forgotten it. But
So I'll drop those in for you. And I'll also drop you a link to the Swim Smooth app and a 30-day code, so you've got access to the app for 30 days. Do you use the app already?
No.
Okay, all right, good. No. So that'll be good for you. And I think that's pretty much it. I'll send you actually what you can do on the app as well is send you through some links to the drills which you've mentioned. So I'll make it all nice and clear for you. So I think that's probably about it.
Good.
Get stuck into those, you'll be flying.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to stop this.